They say every day is for the thief, one day for the owner of the house. But ICPC, the Anti-Corruption Commission, has reversed the role. It is now every day for the owner of the house. If you're involved in bribery, over-invoicing, or any shady deal, the day of reckoning has come. ICPC, the Anti-Corruption Commission, is watching you. If you're reported for any corrupt practice, you'll be investigated, prosecuted, and punished. Corruption is harmful to our nation. Join the campaign against it by reporting any corrupt practice to ICPC, the Anti-Corruption Commission.
Let we join hands with ICPC, make them better.
Let's make Nigeria great again.
ICPC, they watch you.
One hand for corruption.
Break the chain of corruption now. Don't give, don't take. This message is brought to you by ICPC, the Anti-Corruption Commission.
A role model is one whose behavior, example, and success can be emulated or copied by others, especially younger people. Virtually anyone can be a role model. However, a good role model sets a good example. They show others how to behave by doing things right themselves. Role models possess qualities that we would like to have and influence people in a way that makes them want to act better. From kindergarten up until primary and secondary schools, and even tertiary institutions, teachers are looked upon by learners who see them as having a lot of knowledge, wisdom, and poise. These learners take the words of their teachers as sacrosanct. No wonder children would rather take the word of their teacher over their parents, often chanting the words, "My teacher said," to finalize any argument. In view of this critical role teachers play in the lives of their students, it goes without saying that they are role models by virtue of their position in the lives of the students. Welcome to Corruption Must Go, ICPC's weekly television program. I am Hawa Sani Garba. Today on the program, we will be looking at the importance and influence of the teacher in shaping characters. But first, we join Joy Aja with anti-corruption stories.
Thank you, Hawa. Welcome to this segment on anti-corruption stories. I am Joy Aja. The President, Federal Republic of Nigeria, Muhammadu Buhari, has commended ICPC for its constituency and executive project tracking initiative. The President, who was represented by the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Mr. Boss Mustafa, made the commendation recently in Abuja during a high-level stakeholders conference on the theme, Fighting Corruption in Nigeria, the Past, the Present, and the Future. The conference was convened by the Presidential Advisory Committee Against Corruption, PACAC. Speaking during the event, President noted that constituency projects used to be conduit pipe for self-aggrandizement, but that with the intervention of ICPC, a lot is being done to ensure that both the government and constituents have value for money appropriated.
Today, there is a rebirth of the National Assembly as the issue of budget padding has been addressed, resulting in initiation and completion of constituency and federal government projects nationwide. I must commend the ICPC for tracking constituency projects because that, in the past, was a major conduit pipe. Furthermore, through the deployment of many reforms and technology, the fight against corruption has improved the performance of MPs.
Making a presentation during the conference, the ICPC chairman, Professor Bolaji Owasonye SAN, who was represented by the Director of System Study and Review Department, Mr. Abia Udofia, gave a summarized breakdown of the Commission's success story under the current administration in line with its statutory mandate of enforcement, system study and review, as well as education and public enlightenment. Speaking on the positives of the CPTI, the chairman highlighted how the exercise had forced contractors who hitherto had abandoned projects or executed projects shoddily to mobilize back to sites to either complete such projects or ensure their excellent execution.
So let's see a few of what we've done. And for enforcement, between 2019 and 2022, cases concluded, we had 4,705. Cases prosecuted, we have 402. Then convictions, we have 85. And recoveries made, funds and assets recovered or seized through cash recovery, rent received from forfeited assets and businesses and so forth. That is about 121.4 billion naira. We also have what we call the constituency and executive projects. This tool is what we use to track projects by that name that either have been abandoned. So the commission goes to the field and ensure that these projects are done and executed.
In another development, the executive governor of Kogi State, Alhaji Yahaya Adoza Bello, has stated that the state government will support ICPC in the execution of its lawful mandate within the states. Governor Bello stated this during the commissioning ceremony of the ICPC ultra-modern prototype building situated at the 500-unit housing estate, Lokoja, Kogi State, recently. The governor, who was represented by the secretary to the state government, Dr. Folashade Arike Ayoade, commended President Muhammadu Buhari for his unrelenting stand against corruption and continued support to the anti-graft agencies, as evidenced in the building of the ICPC edifice.
For the avoidance of doubt, let me restate that the Kogi State government believes in the independence of statutory agencies such as ICPC, and we go out of our way to resist every effort to interfere in or otherwise obstruct the Commission's work in our states. We, however, demand a corresponding duty of professionalism by the Commission and its staff in the ways and manners in which they conduct their business among us. We made this stipulation because we have discovered, through unfortunate experiences, that the human factor is usually the weakest link between policy documents and their proper execution in Nigeria. Respect for the rule of law and constitutionally guaranteed individual liberties will breed reciprocal respect from us. But chemical tactics and politically induced persecution, such as we have seen in some of your sister agencies, will be met with stiff resistance, simply because politicization of this sacred duty and abuse of the entrusted powers is the worst kind of corruption.
Earlier in his opening remarks, the chairman of ICPC, Professor Balaji Owasonye SAN, expressed the desire of the Commission to partner with state governments in the pursuit of the mandate to eradicate corruption in the country and to support states in dealing with corruption.
It is a firm belief that the war against corruption is making progress with the collective commitment of stakeholders in the country. ICPC is available and is ready to support committed, honest, and dedicated state governments, and indeed any institution, to deal with the hydra-headed monster of corruption, as well as assist in implementing prevention measures, leveraging on our skills and capacity for system study review and corruption risk assessment tools to identify vulnerabilities to corruption within state systems and corruption-proof procedures that aid and facilitate fraud and the exploitation of the system by unscrupulous public and civil servants and their private sector allies, whether at the federal, the state, or the local government level.
The event also featured goodwill messages by the Chairman, Senate Committee on Anti-Corruption, Senator Sulaiman Abdulkwari, who was represented by Senator Kola Balogun, as well as the Chairman, House of Representatives Committee on Anti-Corruption, Honorable Nicholas Garba Shehu, and the Acting Chief Judge of the Kogi State Government, represented by Honorable Justice Umar Etsu.
This is Corruption Must Go. Our focus today is on teachers as role models in the fight against corruption. Teachers, especially in the primary and secondary schools, who interact with students at very young age, are in the position to influence them positively for the future. The question, however, is how many teachers are themselves honest and committed to teaching? How many of them are good role models? What role can teachers play in the fight against corruption and entrenching integrity? Our Corruption Must Go crew sampled the opinion of some teachers. Take a listen.
On average, students spend 7 hours every weekday in school. During this period, teachers perform as both parents and guardians to impart knowledge and raise these children right. We are at a school in Abuja to find out about the role of teachers in developing students and preventing corruption.
Corruption is something that has eaten deep into the fabric of our country. So as a teacher, our duty, our responsibility is to teach these children not to be a part of any form of corruption. As role models, we are the role models that are supposed to model these children to turn to be good ambassadors that will represent us anywhere in our communities, in our churches, anywhere they find themselves, they will exhibit such.
Corruption is an issue in most of the countries. And as a teacher is a role model of the students that he is teaching. So as a teacher, you know you are a role model, so you will be involved in teaching the children the right values that it will inculcate in them, so that when they grow, they will now have right living. So as a teacher, you don't involve in any aspect of corruption, especially bribery or the like.
Have you ever had a child say, but my teacher said? You know, that gives you an inkling that there's a lot that that child looks up to in that teacher. You know, so even if the parents are telling the child, this thing is wrong, this is how you do it, you know, the child would always say, but this is what my teacher said, this is what my teacher said. So if you ask a question, are teachers role models, or should they be role models? By any means, yes, they should. It's very necessary, or it's very paramount that they are role models. And the reasons being that the children they're teaching, you know, look up to them for a lot of things, you know. So, I mean, in a day, the percentile level that the children stay in school is more than they do at home. So you would expect that, yes, the teachers must. It's not even an option. They must be role models. This is a primary school. So, and because it's a faith-based school, and by that I mean, you know, we try to teach the children from the perspective of what the Bible says. So it's not as much what you say, but what you do that the children do. And then there's what we call, you call hidden curriculum. Now, hidden curriculum is the life you live that the children see from and they learn from, you know. So in teaching it is more in the practicality of it than in what you say. Because even if you teach it in words and you don't live it, you know, it's difficult for the children to marry what you're saying or what they're reading in the books with what you're saying. So corruption is the cancer that has eaten up into this country, that has left us at the level where we're at right now. We're unable to make any progress in any area of our lives because it has truly eaten deep, you know. And corruption may not necessarily be, you know, you're saying the government. Corruption takes place at home. Corruption, they give you something to share with your sibling, and then you wait, and then you hoard it, and you say it was only given to me. You don't share. It's corruption, you know. But then, as children whose minds are still tender, it's a lot easier to train them as they grow on a daily basis, you know, by expressing to them those things that are right and those things that are wrong, and what it may possibly lead to if they choose to, you know, tread that path. So it's very key that, and in teaching, I'm not saying say it verbally. Let the children be able to see that I'm living it too, you know.
You are still watching Corruption Must Go. The fight against corruption in the educational sector has received a great deal of attention from the ICPC. From the development of a national values curriculum for teaching in both primary and secondary schools, to the creation of anti-corruption clubs and vanguards, organizing debates and essay competitions on anti-corruption, and many more. Let's hear from an ICPC official on the role teachers are expected to play in the fight against corruption.
Yes, when you talk about the role of teachers in value upbringing of our young ones, the role of teachers is so very paramount. In fact, it's next to the role of the parents. So as young ones, you know, move away from their parents into the schools, you know, we all went through the same process. The second institution is the school. That's where you meet the teacher, far from the parent, the family institution. So the teacher is the next person that teaches and reorient the values of the young ones as they grow up. So this commission has introduced what is called the National Values Curriculum. The National Values Curriculum was introduced, with the intention of resuscitating and rejuvenating the values, positive values of the STS by inculcating sound moral values in the youths as they grow up, especially at basics and post-basic level. That is talking about primary school, junior secondary school, and senior secondary school, and even up to tertiary institution. And that is where the role of the teacher comes in. Specifically, the National Values Curriculum, which was developed by the Nigeria Educational Research and Development Council in conjunction with the ICPC, was involved the teachers. The teachers, were supposed to be the ones that would train the pupils or the students, on these values. There are 12 core values in the National Values Curriculum, and it's entirely the teacher that is expected to teach these values, to identify the 12 core values contained in the National Values Curriculum as subsumed in examinable subjects in schools. So what we did at the level of ICPC, and in conjunction with the Nigeria Educational Research and Development Council, was to develop teachers' guide in order to guide the teachers on how to identify those core values in the examinable subjects as subsumed and teach the students from primary school up to the university level on those core values, the 12 core values. So the role of the teacher is really very, very important in the teaching of the National Values Curriculum.
Teachers can either become positive or negative role models to their students. Therefore, it is very important that they are aware and intentional in becoming positive role models by showing good examples and displaying good morals. Ultimately, teachers play a vital role in the fight against corruption by observing the code of conduct of the teaching profession, having a sense of self-discipline, being honest and committed to the spreading of the values of integrity. That way, the teacher can derive moral authority and his credibility can influence others. That's our package on this week's edition. You can watch the program and other editions on our YouTube channel at ICPC Nigeria. Follow us on our social media handles as shown on the screen for all questions, complaints, or suggestions. See you again next week, Wednesday by 3:30 p.m. Bye for now.